Wait, why though?
Fuzzy ward.
Yeah.
The song doesn't tell us.
That sounds,
That's interesting.
no, that's so,
One is a pretty
what's wrong
awesome
with
last
All
Dusty?
right, now, hey, let's walk through the brackets parentheses idea. So here's the idea. I'll just kind of do a different example here. All right. Okay, I'll do something like this, and I'm gonna put a dot there. Okay. Ignore the terrible artistic talents. All right. So here's the idea. If we're going through, increasing, decreasing, and constant, because that's really what your assignment is all about, and then what's the interval for them. If we talk about increasing, there's a couple moments from left to right where it did increase. It increased here and increased here. So to write that down, now notice on that left side there is no arrow. I will be able to use a bracket. Brackets are basically the outsides for us. Just because on this particular problem there is open circles on the inside, but even if those were closed circles in here, you would still have to use a parenthesis because it's being shared between the increasing and decreasing side. So there is no constant on this graph, so we'll put an NA for constant, but increasing. All right, so the interval, you just use X numbers. Now I'm going to tell you right now, this is a -9. This is what? -3, this is a 2, and so on and so forth. This is like the critical numbers we need. All right, so can somebody give me like the idea of brackets and parentheses for the first increasing section? All right, give it to me, give me the first bracket.
I'm gonna go bracket.
Bracket,
Yep. And then is it -9?
-9 up to
-3.
-3. And what do I have on that one?
Parentheses.
Parentheses. Bracket, it's a closed circle, no arrows, so I can use that one. It's not being shared. I'll put a bracket. Parenthesis here is an open circle, but also it's because it's being shared. So you wouldn't be able to use a bracket there anyways. All right, questions with the first one. We're not done with that. That was just the first parenthesis, our first set. Now we're gonna do union, because it did continue to climb later. Now, what's the other one?
parenthesis,
Parenthesis,
2,
2,
comma, positive infinity,
Edwin Fuentes, the office, please. Edwin Fuentes.
okay.
There you go.
Okay, so those are the parentheses I have. Again, we're using X numbers. I'm not saying positive infinity because it's going up. It's going to the right. That's why. All right, questions with the increasing parenthesis bracket idea. So when you're doing like increasing, decreasing, unless there's like a lot of breaks like a discontinuous function, probably what we're looking at on this particular problem is probably what we're looking at is a lot of like parentheses. Unless you have brackets where the graphs are like broken up into pieces. So, Mullins, thanks, I'll take that, just put it on my desk. Thanks. We're just reviewing it right now. All right, now, decreasing. So somebody else now, thank you for those volunteers. So decreasing, can we get the interval for that one? Say again? Parenthesis -3, up to 2, parentheses. We use parentheses, number one, because duh, it's got open circles, but number two, it's because those numbers are shared. So even if these were closed on this particular problem, we would still use a parenthesis because it's being shared between increasing and decreasing, so we wouldn't be able to include them. Okay, there you go. And then constant would be an NA, N/A, non-applicable, because there's no, literally there's no spot in this graph where it flattens out horizontally. There's no constant. Questions on the setup? Did that help you out a little bit? There's a couple others. Okay, any other questions with increasing, decreasing constants? I'll make up anything you need to if you need another example. Okay, last thing I want to do here, just one example. Now again, reminder, I did not assign any graphing problems in this assignment. That's the part we're going to do later this week, probably tomorrow, together. Because there was one assignment I want to do together in class, you can turn in and get instant points. Because it's one of those things we just need practice. And it was the thing I recognized yesterday when I said piecewise function and groans went across the room. So I thought, probably shouldn't assign that. So, all right. So let's do a piecewise function and let's just do one example of it. If you have notes, like your graph paper notes, it might be a good thing. My goal is to do a problem maybe with 2 or 3 parts to it. Let's just do 2. I don't need to do too many of it. But I want to put a curve today. I want to put a curve on it. So let's go with f of x. Let's say it's a piecewise function, so there's going to be two different things. Let's go with 3x minus 1 for any x less than or equal to -1. And let's go with x squared for any x that is greater than e.
No, I hate these.
Okay, yeah. Most people do. I don't understand why. So you definitely did you injustice by making.
It was all last year. I don't know.
They're not meant to be hard, difficult or challenging. It's just meant to be like quick graphs. Thanks, Jay. All right. So let's walk through the parts here. Okay. All right. So the first one. When I do this, what I'm thinking about when I see these, there's two distinct pictures on this graph.
Yep.
Interesting.
That was a little loud for a watch.
You got the new.
I
I
want to put a
watched.
phone back in that caddy heck miller before I have to take it.
I watched.
That's what I thought. All right.
Caught.
Okay.
He's got the new.
Hey, you guys are terrible. All right.
Good job.
Now, hey, thank you. All right. Good work. All right. Okay. All right.
Look at all these.
And
guys.
still only about half the people.
I appreciate you guys putting it back there. All right. Now, okay, for the next part here, we have two separate graphs. They are going to be distinctly separate. Now, when I always do these, unless it's a curve, I can tell curves because they have powers. They have exponents. This is a linear equation, it's a straight line. Here's what I always do. Just plug in two numbers. That's all you do. Just plug in two numbers. I'm going to color code these. So on the first one, I'll do it in red. The second graph, I'll do it in blue. Okay, there you go. That way you can distinctly see the two pictures. That's what I think of. Like when I look at it, I see two distinct pictures and I just need to draw them. Every time you do a linear equation, something that doesn't have powers, just plug in two numbers and you're done. The numbers you should plug in are probably the numbers that they have back here in the domain. So what's one of the numbers I should plug in?
-1.
-1. You have to plug that number in. You have to plug in the numbers they tell you. I know it says less than or greater than, I don't matter. You need to plug in that number first. So I know that for this first one, I'm going to plug in a -1 for my coordinate. That's my x number, right? And now the second number, because I told you you always have to plug in 2, pick a number that meets this condition. So now if it was like greater than or less than, they have two numbers here, just use both. But since this one says numbers strictly less than or equal to -1, pick another number that's less than -1.
-187.
-2, I heard -187. Okay, whatever you need to do, plug it in, and then I can go graph it. Now, I'd probably recommend just pick the smallest numbers possible.
Like I did.
Yeah, not that one. All right, so I'm going to plug in -1 first. Okay, so now where I'm getting my answer, I'm literally just going to plug in -1 in here to this x, and then hit enter on a calculator, and it will spit out my answer. So -1 times 3,
-3.
-3, subtract one more,
-4.
-4, boom. Again, I plugged in the -1. So I'm going to go draw that dot here in a minute. Now, the next dot, I'm going to plug in the -2. -2 times 3,
-6.
-6 minus one more,
-7.
-7. All right, those are my two dots. The first dot is this one. I will have it, it will be a filled in circle because I can be less than or equal to it. So since it has a little bar, you can fill in the dot. So -1, -4, and it will be a filled in dot because it has a little bar underneath it. Now the next one will automatically be filled in, no matter what, even if that first one was open or not. So the next one is -2, -7, -2, -7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. And we'll be going that way because I can pick all the numbers to the left of -1. Okay, questions on that first part? Again, why it's a filled-in circle to begin with because it has that little bar underneath it. Please, question.
Where did you get -7?
I plugged in the -2, and so it was -6 minus one more is -7. I mean, plug in the numbers. Yeah. Okay, are we good with the first graph? That help you out? Any other questions? Okay, all right, second graph, this is a curve. Now, why I recognize it's a curve, it has a power, so it's automatically a curve. So the first number I need to plug in is 2. So I'm gonna do this one, so I have to plug in a 2. Now, if it's a curve, you probably should plug in more than one number, more than, I should say, 2 numbers, because I need to see kind of where this thing's going. I have no idea. So I'm gonna plug in maybe 2 or 3 numbers. So I'm gonna go 2, I have to pick numbers greater than 2, so I'm gonna go 2, 3, and 4, if this is even possible to do. Just to see kind of where this thing is going, because it is a curve. All right, so if I plug in 2, 2 squared,
4.
3 squared, 9, and 4 squared. So yeah, that one I won't even be able to draw. It's off the graph. It gives you an idea, so it's fine. We're already off the graph. I don't need to plug any more. All right, so for the curve, I'm gonna start at 2, 4, and this has to be an open circle because I can't include it. It doesn't have a little bar underneath it, so it'll be an open circle. So 2 comma 4, 2 over, 4 up, open circle. Okay, next one, 3 comma 9, so 3 over, 9 up. And the next one is 4 16, so it's 4 over, wait, 16 up there. All right, and it's supposed to be curving, something like that. It's supposed to be a curve. So, if I would have had more things here, you probably would have seen that it would have came down here. It would have curved, it'd be a parabola. That's something we'll look at later this year, just a review. All right, questions on my graph, that's it. So on this graph, it's not continuous, there's actually a break in the graph, but it is increasing almost the entire graph here. There's no point where it decreases as I go from left to right side. It is actually climbing to the right every time. All right, I just want to review that. Tomorrow we're going to look at an assignment with this, but we're going to do in class together. I don't want to just turn you loose. I want to give you some time where you get some easy points and you know what you can display to me so that you know what you're doing. You have the rest of the time today to work on your assignment. I want to give you plenty of time, so because I know it does take time to get that assignment done, especially the differential quotient stuff that you have to do. If you have any questions, do not be afraid to ask. I need to warn you of next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is one of our learning labs for teaching for model teachers. So I'm going to pre-warn you that next Tuesday there's going to be maybe 7 or 8 teachers in here. They're not watching you, they're watching me. It's the activities we're doing that day. Yeah, it's part of the position here at school. So, yeah, no, definitely not that one. But the idea is that they're going to be in here. Don't be thrown off by it. They'll probably be sitting in the back. The activity we're going to be doing that day, I'll explain more Monday, so you kind of know what you're supposed to be doing. It's pretty easy. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that day that they're here to kind of do it as like a review day for some of the stuff we've been learning. I'll explain the activity more, but we do it 3 or 4 times a year, and just Tuesday's the first one. So don't be thrown off by that. They might even participate in the little activity that we're doing just to kind of see what it's like. I'm doubting it, but some people have in the past. Like Eisenstein probably will if she's in here. But yeah, so just don't be thrown off by that. I'm kind of pre-warning you, and I'll warn you the next couple days.
So have you ever considered doing it during a different class period?
No, they pick. I don't pick.
So she has to watch.
The administration tells me they're coming in
Well,
this
let me
day
see your
for
cat
this one.
walk.
Yeah.
So Weisenstein's watching you teach?
Yeah, and there's a bunch of others.
So does that mean?
Eventually, I'll go in her room at some point. So it's just it's one of those things that we all go to each
So
other's
does she
rooms.
have to have a substitute just to come in here?
Ward's gonna learn something.
Yeah, especially Baumgart could be in here. I mean, they pick all the teachers and they go, hey, you're going in here. Yeah, that's right.
Oh god. Oh gosh. We were doing stocks today, and it was 12 times 4,
Does that
and it
make you
was just.
nervous?
What?
Does that make you nervous?
Nah, not at all.
Oh.
Hey, Ward, let me see.
Because I know what they're in here for. They're not in here to watch me, they're not in here to watch you. They just want to see the activity we're doing, because they want to see something that gets kids moving. Like it's an activity that has to have movement. It has to be an activity where you get to choose different types of problems. You get
play
choice.
dodgeball?
No.
Oh, bad dodgeball. You solved the problem with ball, you're
You, man.
Lean back in. Ward, tell me that is not a brilliant idea.
I learned in
I don't need to be fired on Wednesday.
Dodgeball right in the face.
Oh my gosh.
Right in the face.
It'd be a whole
Roger.
just like Rusty. Rusty used to do the same thing.
Because I haven't checked them yet. After I double check them with the
Oh, Rusty. Oh, Rusty. Oh my gosh, Rusty.
Hey, do number 15.
You and Rusty. You guys just give me a hard time.
Negative infinity.
You have to
Let's see.
look at exponents.
Comma negative 2 parentheses.
And then you're just
Union. 1 comma constant.
They wouldn't have a computer charge. We'll throw it away and redo it.
Yeah.
It's
Can I borrow it?
just
I don't know.
that.
No,
That's
that's
from
right.
negative
Up to negative one.
I just realized,
Which is
yeah.
where the equation was.
Yeah.
So you
Take
follow
the
the
original
x
thing and
squared.
put it next to it.
So then it would decrease from -1 onto 5.
Hey, Ward.
I didn't finish your card.
Why are you right?
Very easy to see.
Oh, this
I didn't know
We got it before you
No,
started.
it takes a while.
Shoot.
What's the point of the equation? It was backwards.
What's the point of the equation?
They tell me right now he's like,
I'll punch back. I don't want to start.
Tell me there's no problem.
$2,000 to sell. Buy certain points a day.
It's so clean.
I didn't want to figure what probably be able to do something.
Actually, put the back on. Are you actually gonna call?
Alright.
I don't know. You told me. You told me that was how you call it.
What's that one?
Remember, you tried to play me on the ground? You got back up. It's round 7 black. That was a girl. I didn't want it. You didn't have your glass.
If they weren't on the phone. She doesn't know anything, right?
There's people who know what they're doing.
Quite a few people. And he does what they didn't know. Right now.
But can you blame him?
I mean, you can. You can, but I think it's called insider trading or something. I don't know.
I just want to see those. Oh, that.
Remember, I beat you.
Why did I do this all wrong? You're going back to I decided to go get that one. I decided to sit in my phone for a while. I didn't even start getting ready until like 7:40.
Yes.
That's why we're so eager.
Wow, I didn't know.
No, I'm
You're not going out.
I know some good moves. The only problem with doing that is, I think it's called insider trading.
You might be. No, you're not ready. I think so.
It's definitely
mentally strong. We'll talk to mom about it because you got yourself asleep at night. So hold up, dude. I know. This game is rude. She's actually.
Roger just told me,
That's pretty good.
call her every basketball they're doing every day.
Yeah, I told her.
You're gonna tell her, I'm like, how do you do? He's like,
No, I told her that. You copy
I just didn't shoot.
That's normal. Most people do that.
I think that's insider trading.
I think she does that. She
I'm
wants.
pretty sure it is though.
I didn't know.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be on the board. Yes.
It's just walk out there. Yeah, you should be so monster.
11:30, because I'm gonna get lost.
Even all simple.
If I got the whole grade about a month, here he is at
The reason I do say you're on. I'm not yeah, I was
What if I had it right?
So just be cautious they might ask you for something like that. Because with taking
That was my house.
those medications.
Yeah, I put the two in and then.
well, if you take Tylenol and ibuprofen, same time to find
I don't want any, you take a lot of it.
I don't want anyone to die. I want you to die, but
Ryan has to go to the bathroom.
Ryan has to go to the
Yeah.
I'm in alcohol.
Oh, okay, we're I want the rest.
You're welcome.
I guarantee.
Can I do it like for 5 minutes? get like 21 extra.
I feel really.
I can live.
Who does it first?
But you're right. I already did this once.
I have no idea what it is.
Oh.
I just want to see you.
Mr. Ward is
That's more. Why? Oh, look at that.
Why? Why?
Oh my.
I tell them not to do it.